My name is Dominique Mohammed. I'm 29 years old. I'm from Portland, Oregon. And this past year, I faced and defeated one of the toughest battles that I've ever faced in my life. When I was 20 years old, I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma stage 4. I'm gonna bring on fellow cancer survivors to show you guys not only that you can beat any cancer, but that you can beat your zombie, whatever that is in life.
Welcome to this episode of Beast vs. Zombie. I'm your cancer survivor, Dominique Mohammed. Today I have a special guest with me, Miss Charlene. She has an amazing story. She's overcome breast cancer in her life. So thank you for coming on the show today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
I'm so excited. So let's get right into it. Let's get into it. So how did you find out that you had cancer?
I found it.
You found it.
And I don't know why. My husband's a physician, and I know he tells all his female patients to palpate their breasts. Of course, I never, ever did, ever. I guess must have been watching television one day, and I must have adjusted my bra strap or something, and for some divine intervention, I guess, I had my hand near here, and I felt something decidedly different. Now I have dense tissue. I've always got to go back for second mammograms because they can never read them effectively enough the first time. And I said to my husband, "Feel this." He said, "You need to have it seen to." And that's how I discovered it. So, ladies, you must do mammograms yearly. I forgot during 2022, I think because of COVID and so many other things going on, and maybe I would have picked it up then too, I don't know.
So how long ago was this in your life?
We are now in May of 24. It happened last year, end of August, beginning of September of 23.
Okay. So, and you beat cancer?
Oh yeah, no. For me, cancer is there, not here.
Mm-hmm.
It's not who I am.
Right.
It's not part of who I am. It's something I experienced, and it's done with.
That's a really cool perspective to have about something as serious.
Well, I've come to believe that attitude is 99% of recovery. I didn't realize it at the time, but I do know that there was a doctor who once said that he never believed it, but having lived long enough and seen enough patients, he too believes that your attitude to any given condition contributes to your healing and getting better and what have you. And the more positive, the quicker you get better.
I agree with that. I always, through my whole cancer journey, tried to keep a positive attitude.
It's wonderful. Mm.
I think it not only helps me understand and believe that I'm okay, but also it helps everybody else that's supporting me, that cares about me. I always say that I tried to lead by example with my attitude so that people felt confident in what I was doing, in my health, and that I was going to be okay.
You know, it's so interesting. You never know how you're going to deal with a situation until you're confronted by it. Now, every time you watch a television show or open a magazine and you hear of someone being confronted with the cancer diagnosis, they fall apart, and why me? And it wasn't like that with me. My husband turned to me one day, and I could see he was in shock because I'm the anchor of the family, I think, and that wasn't going to happen to me. He told me the diagnosis, and I looked at him and said, "Okay, so what's the next step? What do we do? Where do we go?" And that's how I approached it throughout. I never once became emotional. It just wasn't part of my agenda, and I never realized that until it happens. It's totally surreal when you get this kind of diagnosis, and it was interesting to me that that's how I dealt with it. It was, in fact, so much so, my family, my children, my grandchildren were devastated. I mean, but I remember thinking when I went in for the procedure to have the cancer removed, I was in my operating garb that they put you in, and I was standing next to the gurney before I went in, and I turned to the nurse and I said to her, you know, I've got grown-up grandchildren and they cannot believe that their grandmother, who's nearly 80, can do male push-ups. I can't see my toes, I'm totally inflexible, but I can do male push-ups. I said to her, would you please do me a favor? Would you videotape me doing my push-ups next to the gurney before I go in so my husband can send it to the grandchildren because I know they're very concerned and it'll just lighten the load. She could not believe it. She put down blankets on the floor and she took the videos of me and we sent it to the family and they just said, that's Granny. And it made a difference to their dealing with the situation when they saw a lightness of being, before, you know, in a rather serious situation.
That's really cool. I can relate to that. I know when I got cancer, something that sticks out to me similar to that situation, my dad was very concerned. Obviously, my parents were I'm 19 years old. My parents are very concerned, and my dad is just asking me, you know, how do you feel about this, right? Like, I just got cancer.
Yeah.
And like you said, you don't know how you're going to deal with it till you get it. Right, I never thought in a million years in my life that I would be getting cancer. It's something that nobody ever thinks that it would happen to them, right? And he's asking me, how are you feeling? Like, what are you thinking? Because it's official, right? I have the diagnosis. And I just remember telling him, like, because I felt good. I'm a very active person, I'm very healthy. And I told him, like, I don't know what this is, but I feel good, and like we just have to beat this, right? That was my attitude with this. And similar to you, my mom was very big on the details, asking the questions, which is a blessing, right? And she would always be asking, well, what if this happens, or what if this happens, what if this goes wrong, then what do we do, right? Kind of going through all of the options, and all I was ever concerned about was, what do we need to do moving forward, like, and let's go do it, right?
That's like me.
Exactly.
It's interesting. You know, they told me with this particular treatment that they're giving me that I will lose my hair. So I said to them, I wanted to use the ice cap. What's the ice cap? Because the ice cap will save maybe 2/3 of your hair or half of it or whatever. So the ice cap is when you go in for your infusion, there is a plastic cap that you put on, and it's got piping around it, and they infuse it with ice for the 4 hours that you're doing the infusion. So I turned around and to my friends and I said, but if you're going to have ice on your head for 4 hours, you're going to be freezing. Within 2 days, friends got together and brought me an electric blanket. You know, that's the big thing about this journey for me. The outpouring of love and concern from the sources that I never anticipated was overwhelming. So for me, I was kind of carried on a cloud of love and care and concern that I never expected, and it made the journey so much easier. So what is the ice cap? The first time I went in, and they give you the infusion, and they give you Ativan in the infusion to lighten the load of this, but the Ativan didn't come in quick enough. So I felt it. You know when you get a brain freeze? Ouch, when you drink something too cold too quickly? Imagine that for 20 minutes. It's pretty intense. And I was wanting to take the cap off because it was intense. So the second time I went, I took my extra Ativan before I came in. So I have no idea what happened. I have no idea what happened every other time since then, and it was wonderful. So I advise people, you don't want to know about it, and you want to save. I did. I lost 1/3 of my hair. And it's interesting to see it growing back. Yes, this is a wig, but it's very similar to my own hair. And I'll see what happens. But that was an interesting experience as well.
I love that. Like, there were 2 points when I did lose my hair. Because I had 2 bone marrow transplants that I had gone through. But before that, I had done chemo and some radiation, and my hair just got a little thin. I didn't actually lose all of my hair, but when I did get both transplants, before you go into a transplant, you get full body chemo or radiation or a combination of both, because the goal is to kill all of the cells in your body, right? And so you just don't, your fingernails get dark, your hair, right? All my hair, I remember the first time my hair it just rubbed off in the shower. I had kind of buzz cut it, and I was in the shower and I was kind of scratching my head, and I looked down and there was a whole bunch of hair on the floor, like small hair, and I was like wondering what's going on, and I started just rubbing my head, and it just slicked off, right? And that was the first time I ever been bald in my life, maybe since I was like a baby or something. And yeah, that was different, but I mean, as you can see, my hair grew back.
I can see
my hair
does
grew
grow back.
And so that's obviously, I feel like that's more challenging for females.
Absolutely.
Opposed to a guy. And that's just a different experience, definitely, for both of us.
Yeah, I was thinking of something a minute ago. It'll come to me in a minute. But you know, we went to the City of Hope in Pasadena. Mm-hmm. It is an amazing, amazing facility. From even the guy that takes your car to valet, to somebody who's showing you where you need to go, there's so much love and caring in that institution. When I finished I only brought a sample. When I finished my chemotherapy, I got this Distinguished Patient Award, City of Hope Champion. Okay. This is the kind of thing. And then when I finished my radiation, I got a certificate of completion, also with a little something around my neck. I wanted to say something about yes, you know, they took the lump out. It was clean, the margins. They took the lymph nodes out. They were not affected. So I was clean. However, what they do is they did what they call an oncoscore, where they take the tissue that they took out and test it to see how aggressive it is as a type of cancer. And the score is between 1 and 25. Mine was 36. Which is why they gave me chemo. Because originally I wasn't going to have it. Everything looked clean, it was small, it was early stages, and they thought they would just take it out and then give me radiation. But when they saw that it was that kind of an aggressive cancer, they did, in case a molecule, one cell was left behind, they had to make sure that everything in the body was cleaned out. So that's why I got chemo as well as radiation, to make sure that whatever was left behind was taken care of with the chemo. And I never knew that. Okay. I never knew that that's how they gauge, what you've got.
So you got a surgery done and you did some chemo because of how aggressive it was.
And then I did radiation.
And radiation
afterwards.
As well.
And it's now, we're in May, I finished radiation in March. So
wow,
it's relatively new still, but I'm fine. I mean, I'm really fine. They do put you on anti-estrogen tablets for the next 4 years, because this is estrogen sensitive, and that affects your joints. But there are alternatives, and I'll deal with that when I go for my follow-up.
Okay.
And see what happens next.
So how did you feel after, right, your family, I know, is very concerned, all the people, it sounds like you have a big support system. How did you feel once you finally, I mean, I guess it wasn't too long of a process, got to the end and overcame and beat cancer? How did you feel, and how are the people that care about you feeling?
You know, like I told you, I was so overwhelmed by this wave of love and concern that I was getting from everybody and people that I never even expected, that I gave a party, a luncheon, for all those people that had made my journey so special. And I should have brought you anyway. And I organized this really fabulous luncheon at a restaurant here, and I had little discs printed. It was like a transparent plastic with a metal base that you could put as a refrigerator magnet, and it had "thank you for all your concern," and it had little hay bouquets stuck in there with my name at the bottom. So I gave these little magnets in little gift packages to everybody who attended the luncheon, just to thank them for making my journey so special, because I was that grateful, and I never anticipated that. People came out of the woodwork, and I wanted them to know how much I appreciated their support and love.
I love that. Because, right, the whole journey, it does not work without all of that love, all of that support. Even, like you said, at the facility,
Yes.
all of those people,
Yes.
they make it so much, all the nurses that ever took care of you,
Incredible.
right? Incredible. They make it so much easier for you to get through the whole process. I've had interviews with people before, and they're like, man, you know, one of the, I guess you could say a good thing about cancer is you're kind of catered to, right? It's like you're kind of catered to,
Yeah.
and it just makes the whole experience so much more seamless, right? For me, I know I had I had those 2 transplants. One of the transplants was during chemo.
COVID.
COVID. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
wow, yes.
One was during COVID, and the other was pre-COVID.
Yes.
And so the one pre-COVID was completely right. It was like day and night.
Right.
I was able to have family and friends come up to because you're basically quarantined to a hospital for a month.
Wow.
And you can't leave that floor or the hospital for that period of time until your cells get to a certain point when you're healthy enough to be in public. And yeah, the support that I got from my friends and my family during those times, and those are some of the hardest times I've ever gone through in my entire life.
Of course.
Right? And without the support, I mean, especially even, like I said, the one during COVID, it's just my mom and I in the hospital. And that goes back to the support of all the staff, the doctors, the nurses that are in there doing an amazing, they, in a lot of ways, became my family.
Well, of course they did.
During that time.
Because, you know, when you're confronted, I mean, the reality is when you're confronted with this kind of diagnosis, no matter what kind it is, it's, your mortality comes into question. I mean, that's the truth. You suddenly realize, you know, this could be it. I mean,
That's what people think when they hear cancer.
I didn't think about that. I didn't enter my head, but I knew it subconsciously. And, you know, let's not mess around. Chemo's not fun. My children say to me, Mom, I never saw you really looking terrible. Why? Because when I felt terrible, I went to bed. Because chemo knocks the hell out of you. So all you can do is go to bed and rest. And that's what I'd say, excuse me, I'm going to bed. Excuse me. So when they did see me, I was feeling stronger. Because there's a cycle. You have the chemo. In the chemo, they give you steroids for 2 days. So for 2 days after chemo, you are terrific. You're strong. At least this is with breast cancer. And the 3rd day, wham, it hits you. And you can't, I couldn't stand on my feet. My legs would give in, I was that weak. So we go to bed. And my husband, as I say, who is a physician, told me beforehand, please eat before chemo. Eat beforehand so you can build up your strength, because you might not want to eat too much, you know, afterwards. And I did. I put on about 10 pounds. So I had plenty to keep me going, because it does deplete you. And you follow, and it's a cumulative. Because after the first chemo, you not right for 4 days, and then you start getting stronger. The next time maybe it's 5 days, and then it maybe is 6 days before you feel strong enough. So when I wasn't feeling good, I never saw anybody, because you don't want to see anybody, you want to just sleep. But when you're strong enough, I put on makeup and I saw everybody and they thought I looked great. So that you just got to deal with what your body tells you.
I love that. I know for me, going through the whole journey, being able to have some type of sense of normalcy
Yes.
during the whole process was a very big deal for me.
Yes.
And helped me just get through the process, because I didn't want to seem like I'm like handicapped or like down. I don't want people to really feel sorry for me, right?
Yeah.
And like you said, when I was able to present myself, right, I wanted to be presentable, I wanted to be upbeat. I wanted you to understand, again, like I said, lead by example with my attitude, that everything is okay.
Well, you're remarkable, quite frankly, because you've had to deal with really very, very difficult circumstances, and obviously your attitude has got you to where you are now. That's remarkable.
Thank you. Thank you
That's
so
quite
much.
remarkable.
I'm trying to be like you.
No, you are pretty good.
I'm trying to be like you.
Oh, gosh.
So, looking back on this journey, what would you tell somebody that maybe got breast cancer, or is maybe just going through a tough time in their life? What kind of advice would you give to people out there that are going through hard challenges?
I think what we said earlier, in that attitude is 90% of getting better. You have to be positive about getting through the treatment, listening to your body when it tells you you're weak, go and rest. That's okay, rest. There'll be a point in time where you will be stronger and will be able to get up and do what you want to do. And this too shall pass. And you will be strong again. And I think it must be awfully difficult for people who are on their own, but that calls for additional strength and additional positivity and a belief in who you are, and that you can beat it, and you will.
I agree with that, and in so many ways. I like how you say that the belief in yourself.
You have to.
You have to
You
believe.
have to. Nobody else can do it for you. You have to. You have to not say, woe is me, and you've got to say, okay, what do I do next? And then after that, what do I do next? And so you'll get yourself healthy.
Because it's easy to be a victim and be woe is me.
Absolutely.
And you don't know why you get cancer.
No.
They don't.
Nobody does.
They don't tell
Although
you.
they did, I read the books and I found out that it didn't really matter about family history and hereditary. They said if you're a woman and you're over 50, you're going to get breast cancer. Just like men get prostate problems, I never knew that. I thought you had to have it in your family. No, it's not that way anymore.
Yeah, and mine, I have no family history of people getting cancer.
Yeah.
They can't tell you exactly why. They give you suggestions like eat a balanced diet.
Right.
But even after, to maintain it, to stay healthy,
Yeah.
right? Like, because I've had a period where I've been in remission, like I was telling you, for 3 years, and then it came back, right? They don't tell you, they tell you like simple things like don't drink, don't smoke, eat a healthy diet, right? Like normal things that you would think to be healthy. There's no real answer on how to understand or prevent any type of cancer from coming back in the future. So, and that goes back into you having like belief in yourself and having a positive mental attitude is really important.
Yes.
And really important to just, like you said, take it one step at a time.
And just don't forget, women, have a mammogram every year, because I have a friend who came to me daily, weekly. She brought me food, much younger than me. And while I was going through my final radiation treatment, she came to me one day and said, "You saved my life." I said, "What are you talking about?" She said, I've got breast cancer. I said, what? She said, yes, I went and had a mammogram because you told me I had to go, and I've got it. And she hadn't been for 4 years. Women do it on a yearly basis. It's very important.
That's super important. I know for me, just being healthy and getting checkups has always been a part of my life. Like, I've always been an athlete, so I've always been in situations and very in tune with my body, right? So even when I first was finding out that when I first was diagnosed, the way that I found out was I had a lump in my neck. But I was in classes. I remember being on the phone with my mom, and I was feeling tired for no reason. And I had decided, I'd been feeling like this, and I was telling my mom, and so the next day I made sure I went to sleep early and I rested. I usually would work out before class. I was in college at the time, and I was like, oh, I'm just gonna rest, right? I'm trying to listen to my body, like you were saying, and I'm just gonna rest. I just went to my class. It wasn't even maybe an early class. It might have been like a 9 o'clock class, and it was like 10, 11 o'clock, and I'm on the phone with my mom, and I'm telling her I'm just tired for no reason, right? And I feel like that's a big part about it too, is being in tune with your body,
being aware, yes.
And being aware and understanding like what's going on with your body. Like you said, I think a very big thing in general, not just if you have cancer, is getting your rest, listening to your body and taking time to rest and to recover. I'm always working out all the time, so I don't always do the best job of that. My girlfriend keeps me in check and tells me when to rest and gives me suggestions and, holds me accountable to that, because I'm kind of like a little kid in the sense I just go till I crash out.
Yeah. And
that's kind of right. I'm always trying to just get as much as I can done, especially what we've gone through. I have a different perspective,
of course it does,
on everything and how I view things, how I view my life, and how precious life is. Can you speak to that on your perspective and how maybe that has changed since, right, you got breast cancer and you overcame that and you had all the support from all those people? How has that affected you?
It's just that I found the whole journey overwhelming. Like I said, I was propelled on this avalanche of love and caring, and so for me it was a remarkable journey. It was a journey of goodness and caring and love, and I've got a good feeling in me. I feel good. People have opened my eyes to the love and care in the world that I didn't know. I mean, I always knew that I'm a positive person, but this was a real wake-up call, and I appreciate that. I appreciate the rapidity with which I was dealt with in the situation, how quickly it was resolved, the attention of the medical staff, the love of the people around me. So for me, it was an enlightening experience and not totally negative.
I agree. That's exactly how I would explain it. I always tell people cancer was one of the best things that happened to me, even though that sounds kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And that sounds kind of insane.
Yeah.
But it was definitely one of the best things that happened to me because, and to your point, I understood really deep down who really cared about me.
Absolutely.
Right? And who are those people that are there for me? The people that you, like you said, you don't even know or haven't really talked to in a long time, but they care about you, they support you, and are willing to take actions in favor of you to try and help you get through a tough time because, right, cancer is scary in a lot of people's eyes.
Of course.
When you hear that, it resonates with a lot of negativity, and it's hard to keep that in a light and in a positive way. And yeah, for me, like you said, it was just very enlightening. I'm very glad. It gave me a lot of purpose
Yep.
in my life. And like you said, I'm excited about a lot of things that I wasn't always excited about.
Good.
Right?
Well, thank you so much.
And so, yeah, I love this. I'm so happy that you were able to overcome this journey because,
You too.
man, it's a
It's a wake-up call.
it's definitely a wake-up call.
Yes.
It's definitely a wake-up call. Cool. Well, just to carry us out, this was a great conversation. Is there any other stories that you would like to share that just really made a really big impact on you during this journey, that really stood out to you that you'll never forget?
I think the thing that, because I felt so special in the way I was treated by people in my world, going every 3 weeks for treatment and seeing just how many very sick people there are, because you can't help but be confronted by them, and seeing that and having to think that some people have to face this alone, was a wake-up call for me, because I was so blessed, and I have been so blessed, and I've been surrounded by so much love and concern, and I felt deeply concerned for those people who had to face this on their own, and I just hope that they find some source of love and care through the process.
I agree, because without all that support from my family and friends, it would have been a lot tougher.
Yeah.
It'd be a lot different. And I know there is people out there that don't have as much support as maybe you and I might have had. And that's the reason why I do this podcast, right? Is to ideally be able to inspire and motivate people that, right, not only can you overcome cancer, like Miss Charlene and I, but any challenges that you have going on in your life, you can overcome. And if you don't have any support, hopefully this gives you some type of light and support in your life, because it's tough. It's tough by yourself, and like you said, really believing in yourself. It can be really tough when you're just in your head. You don't have a lot of support, and it can get lonely. Right? You can get stuck in your thoughts. It can spiral in the wrong direction and it's easier to do that, right?
I think my only suggestion to them is to find some faith leader, somebody in some church capacity. There are volunteers there, and reach out, and they'll be, I'm sure, happy to support you.
Right. Totally. I agree with that too. Cool. Well, that's all we have today on this episode of Beast vs. Zombie. Make sure that you follow the podcast on Instagram, follow on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube, comment below, drop a review on the podcast, and make sure you tune in to the next episode. Be a beast.